Ever notice how like even the tiniest things can cause these massive changes? It's like that butterfly effect thing, right? One flap of a wing and then bam, hurricane on the other side of the world. So get this. Marketing's kind of like that too. It's wild. We're going deep today. A deep dive into the microenvironment. All those close-to-home factors businesses can't afford to ignore. Our sources are really into Nike as a case study. But the lessons, they totally apply no matter what size your business is.
Yeah, the cool thing about this whole microenvironment thing is just how connected everything is. We think marketing, big strategies, but it's built on all these smaller pieces working together.
Like a marketing ecosystem. The company's at the center.
Yeah.
All these factors swirling around it. So where do we even start with this? What are we even talking about when we say microenvironment?
Think of it like all the forces that directly impact a company's ability to serve its customers. Stuff like their internal structure, the resources they have, how they work with their suppliers, competitors, even the local community. It's a puzzle. You need all these pieces to make the picture.
Okay, so it's not just external stuff. It starts inside the company itself. Makes sense. But I guess what's interesting, it's not just about the product they make.
Exactly. A company's mission, its culture, its goals, all of that impacts how they market themselves. Huge impact. So for example, imagine a company that's all about sustainability. Their marketing is going to be all about their eco-friendly practices. They're selling an ethos, think Patagonia. It's as much about environmentalism as it is about jacket.
And that speaks to a certain type of customer too.
Right.
People who buy into that whole ethos thing as much as the actual product.
Yeah.
But then there's the practical side too. A company's resources, how adaptable they are.
Totally. A company with a lot of money, they might go all in on digital campaigns. Meanwhile, a startup might rely more on creative tactics. Got to use what you got.
Right. Tool for the job. Speaking of tools, let's talk suppliers. Seems like it's just about raw materials, right? But there's more to it.
Way deeper. Suppliers aren't just providers. They're almost like partners. Think about it. Their reliability, how innovative they are, even their ethics. All of that impacts how a company can market stuff.
Because if something goes wrong with a supplier, it can be like a total marketing disaster, right?
Exactly. Imagine finding out your supplier uses child labor or destroys rainforests. No amount of marketing can fix that. And on a personal level, have you ever boycotted a brand because of something like that? Or maybe chosen one because they were being transparent about their sources?
Yeah, definitely. More than just a business decision at that point, it's about values. Companies can't just focus on the cheapest materials. They need suppliers that match their message.
And that often means a trade-off between cost and quality. Cheap suppliers might mean lower prices. But what if the quality isn't there? How do you market that? Transparency is key.
It's like saying, hey, we're not going to pretend this is the best thing ever, but here's the value you get for the price. Okay, so we've got the company itself and their suppliers. Next piece of the puzzle, marketing intermediaries. Who are these folks and why do we care?
The bridge between the company and the customer. Retailers, wholesalers, ad agencies, online platforms like Amazon or Etsy, basically anyone involved in getting that product from the company to you.
So their effectiveness impacts how well the company's marketing works. It's like choosing your allies.
Exactly. If your distribution channel doesn't match your brand, it just won't work. Imagine like a luxury brand trying to sell their products at a discount store. It wouldn't fit. Especially nowadays, online intermediaries, Amazon, they have so much power.
Yeah, they can make or break you. Huge reach, but they have their own rules.
It's a double-edged sword. Visibility, massive sales. But you got to play by their rules.
Yeah.
Picking the right intermediaries, building good relationships with them. Critical.
Makes sense. Now, the stars of the show, the customers. Seems obvious, but it's about more than just knowing people buy stuff.
It's about really understanding their needs, even as those needs change.
So how do you do that?
That's the real challenge. It's about getting to know your target audience inside and out. Demographics, sure, but also their psychographics, their buying habits, how they interact with your brand. Because the customer landscape is always changing.
Like the shift toward body positivity and inclusivity. A company like Nike making plus-size activewear shows they're paying attention and catering to a broader range of customers.
And those customers appreciate it, seeing themselves reflected in the brands they support.
It's not just about selling clothes. It's about making people feel seen. And then there's all this personalization stuff everywhere now, like Netflix recommendations or targeted ads.
Personalization is huge. It's about making customers feel understood. When marketing feels tailored to you, you're more likely to buy something.
I know I'm more likely to click on an ad if it seems relevant. Feels less like a sales pitch.
Exactly. Building a connection.
Okay, understanding customers is key. But what about competitors? That might sound like a dirty word. But it's not always about cutthroat tactics.
Competitors can be great sources of information. Analyze what they do well, where they struggle. That's valuable for your own strategy.
Keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
Exactly. Think about Coke versus Pepsi. Their marketing wars. Legendary. You can bet they're watching each other's moves, trying to learn and adapt. But it's not just about the big guys. A small business can learn a lot from a bigger competitor, especially online.
So it's about being aware of the playing field, what your competitors are doing.
And sometimes the most surprising approach can be the most effective. Have you ever heard of co-opetition?
Co-opetition, like friendly competition.
It's more than that. Sometimes working with a competitor can benefit both of you. Imagine two small businesses in the same industry. They team up. A joint marketing campaign. Maybe they collaborate on a new product.
Whoa, that's wild. Never thought about working with a competitor.
It challenges that whole idea of competition.
So instead of fighting, they find a way to team up and both win.
It shows how important it is to think outside the box.
All right, so we've got the company itself, their suppliers, the intermediaries, the customers, and the competitors. Who else is part of this microenvironment?
There's one more group that often gets overlooked. Publics.
Publics, what does that even mean?
It's broad. Publics are any group that can impact or be impacted by the company. Media outlets, investors, government agencies, local communities, even the company's own employees.
Wow, so basically anyone with a stake in the company's success, even indirectly. So how do you manage all these relationships?
It is a lot. But managing these relationships is crucial. For a company's reputation, take Starbucks. They're known for their community engagement stuff, hosting events at their stores. Does that make you see them differently?
I think it does for a lot of people. It shows they care about the community.
Builds goodwill, makes you want to choose Starbucks.
It's a win-win.
But it's not just about external publics. Employees are a public too.
Right.
They're the ones interacting with customers.
So if a company treats its employees poorly, it gets out.
It impacts customer relationships too.
It all comes back to that interconnectedness.
Every action has a ripple effect.
All right, that's a lot to think about. We've covered a lot of ground here. The company itself, suppliers, intermediaries, customers, competitors, and now publics. This microenvironment. It's a pretty complex web.
Complex, but fascinating. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion.
And what's cool, even though our source material is all about Nike, these principles apply no matter what.
Absolutely. Global giant or a local coffee shop. Understanding and managing these micro factors is critical.
What's sticking with you the most from what we've covered so far?
For me, it's that interconnectedness thing, how all these seemingly separate factors, the company, the suppliers, the customers, they're all tied together.
Like an ecosystem.
Every decision has ripple effects.
And those effects can be good or bad, right?
It highlights the importance of making conscious decisions.
Because everything's connected.
It's not just about profit. It's about building a sustainable business.
That benefits everyone.
The company, the employees, the customers, the community.
Okay, we've laid the groundwork. We know what this microenvironment is, why it matters. But let's get specific. How does a company like Nike actually put these ideas into practice?
That's where things get really interesting. Let's dive into Nike and see how they became a global powerhouse. Okay, so Nike, the king of sportswear. How do they tackle all this micro stuff? You see their marketing everywhere. It's a good example.
Yeah, for sure. Everyone knows Nike. Makes it easier to connect the dots. But where do we even start?
Well, at the core, Nike's company culture, it's like in their DNA, innovation, focus on athletes, and this drive to inspire people. Not just a marketing tactic, it's who they are.
Feels authentic because it is. It's not just selling shoes and clothes. It's about a feeling.
Exactly. Their slogan, just do it. It's perfect. It's not just about buying their stuff. It's a call to action.
It works. Get you pumped up. But then there's the practical side too, like how they handle their suppliers.
For sure. Nike has a ton of suppliers all over the world.
Which can be tricky when it comes to ethics and sustainability. But they've made this a focus and a big part of their marketing.
So they're not hiding from the challenges. They're making it part of their story.
Exactly. They talk about their move to zero campaign, zero carbon emissions, zero waste, sustainable materials, fair labor practices. All of this matters to people nowadays.
It's like they're saying, hey, we're not perfect, but here's what we're doing.
It shows they're trying.
Builds trust.
Okay, so we've covered company culture, suppliers. What about those marketing intermediaries? Nike seems to control how their products are sold, but they're also online now.
Yeah, how does that work?
It's multi-layered, strong relationships with retailers. But they've also invested heavily in their own online presence. The Nike app, their website.
More control over the customer experience and data.
Exactly. They can personalize your experience, offer deals, and they use all that data to get better.
Smart.
Yeah.
But a big part of Nike's success, it has to be understanding their customers. It's true. They have a ton of different customers.
Yeah.
Athletes, people who just like the style. And they've figured out how to reach each group.
They're not afraid to try new things.
Yeah.
Like the Nike Pro hijab
That was a big move.
showed they were committed to inclusivity
It felt real.
and their innovation,
Well,
always pushing boundaries.
which brings us to their competitors.
Yeah, the sportswear industry. It's a battleground.
Adidas, Under Armour, they're all fighting for market share.
But Nike stays ahead.
Innovation, brand identity.
You're not going to rest.
And that keeps their customers coming back.
So how about those publics? How does a brand like Nike manage all that?
Nike's really good at engaging with publics. They use their platform, social justice, sustainability. They even work with local communities.
Remember that campaign with Colin Kaepernick?
That was bold.
They took a stand.
It resonated with their customers.
It's like they were saying, this is what we believe in.
It was powerful.
Okay, so we've seen how Nike tackles all those micro factors. Company culture, suppliers, intermediaries, customers, competitors, and publics. Impressive. But what can we learn from Nike? What about the rest of us?
That's the key. Nike's huge. But their principles apply to everyone. Understanding your company culture, building relationships with suppliers, knowing your customers, watching your competitors, engaging with your publics, all of that is critical no matter what you do.
It's about being strategic, being genuine, and being able to adapt.
And even small changes can make a big difference.
Are there any examples of companies that mess this up? Because they didn't pay attention to these micro things.
Tons. Like, remember that clothing retailer we talked about? The one with the bad labor practices?
That was a mess.
They ignored their supply chain.
What could they have done differently?
They should have been honest, told everyone what they were doing to fix it.
Turned a negative into a positive.
Exactly. And what about Blockbuster?
Oh yeah, Blockbuster Video. Gone because of streaming.
They didn't adapt.
What if they had partnered with a streaming service? Or changed their business?
They could have. No company's too big to fail.
You have to adapt or die.
It's like evolution, survival of the fittest.
So we need to understand these micro factors and manage them.
Keep an eye on everything. Your company culture, your suppliers, your intermediaries, your customers, your competitors, your publics.
And proactive.
You got to be a student of your own microenvironment.
We've seen the good and the bad, learn from Nike, learn from others' mistakes. What's sticking with you?
Marketing isn't just about campaigns and slogans. It's about understanding the whole picture.
And making good decisions.
That helps everyone.
So to our listener, think about one micro factor you could improve.
Maybe being more aware of your company's values.
Maybe supporting local businesses.
Or taking the time to understand your competitor.
Wherever it is, the possibilities are endless.
Pick one thing and make a change.
Even small changes can make a big difference.
So go out there and make those changes.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Okay, so we've seen how important all this is. But are there other companies, I mean, not as big as Nike, who are doing this well?
Oh, yeah, definitely. There is this local bakery I like. They've totally nailed this microenvironment thing.
Oh, really? Tell me about them.
So they get all their ingredients locally. They do events with other businesses nearby. And they're all over social media, always talking to their customers.
So smart.
Yeah, they're building this whole community around their brand.
And it's working, right?
Totally. Business is booming. They have great pastries. But they've also built these amazing relationships. It's more than just a bakery. It's like a part of the neighborhood.
I love that. Shows you can do this at any level. So as we wrap things up here, this deep dive into the microenvironment, what's the one thing you want our listener to remember?
I think it's this. Marketing. It's not just about fancy ads. It's about understanding all those relationships.
Your company culture, your suppliers,
Your intermediary.
your customer,
Your competitors.
their publics.
It's a whole system.
You got to make decisions that benefit everyone.
And remember, even small changes can have a big impact.
So to our listener, think about your own microenvironment. Work, personal life, whatever. What's one small thing you can change to make things better?
Strengthen the relationships.
The possibilities.
Endless.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
We'll see you next time.